Hey, I'm sure as you know, the Hero class is supposed to come out on PSO2 today, but it's actually not going to be until about 1 a.m. my time, and that is assuming that they actually bring up the servers on time, which I'm sure you know, with any online game, let alone one like PSO2 where it happens more often, it's very rare that that happens. I probably will be up to check it out. I'll probably wake up in the middle of the night because of how my sleep schedule has been. But I wanted to just put up something else today because I don't know when or if that will happen. Generally, when they do a big episode update of PSO2, there's a bunch of problems. I know right now people are having problems with the tweaker randomly deleting files. Like people are having to re-download like 20 gigs of data. So I can't even like really guarantee that I'll be able to play it tomorrow or today by the time you guys see this. What I wanted to talk about today was it's a topic that you don't really hear about much, which is Mega Man fan games and how imbalanced and underappreciated a lot of the other franchises or sub-franchises are, series in that field are. You know that there are a million classic Mega Man fan games. There's probably more than anybody can name. Obviously, there's a lot that are varying quality. And you have ones like Mega Man Unlimited, Street Fighter X Mega Man, which are some of the more higher tier ones. You know, there's Minus Infinity, Burst Chaser Air Sliding. Those are some of the big name ones. Rock Band No Constancy. But you have the problem is that there's just like not much else representation for any other series. Now, my issue with that, it is a little bit of favoritism. I've always preferred the X and Zero series to the classic series. I like the music in the classic series, but I've grown tired of the gameplay. That's mostly just from, how old I am. Like I played those games when they were new, and they haven't really changed much. In a way, Mega Man 9 kind of regressed things a little bit because it took away the slide and all the other stuff. So I would like to see the X and Zero series get more fan games. Now, obviously, Mega Man X Corrupted has been in the works for like about a decade now. They've been working on that game for a long time. Obviously it's a fan game. I believe that they've changed engines or something recently. I think they changed from Flash to some other engine, which I assume would cause some problems. I'm not really sure exactly what's going on with that game, but that's like the only notable Mega Man fan game. The closest you have is there's Mega Man X Hard Type, which I don't know too much about. I've caught a little bit of it on stream. Apparently there's also a randomizer ROM hack that you can use, which kind of turns it into a roguelike. It's for the first Mega Man X game. So there is some progress in that field, but a series that's just gotten no love at all from the Mega Man fan development community is the Zero series, which is a shame because the Zero series is, in my opinion, the best example of just how to really nail a good platforming, action platformer engine. Just the combination of the sense of speed that the character has, the responsiveness of the controls. It's something that I haven't really felt in any other game since then, which is saying a lot because Mega Man Zero started like 15 years ago. There hasn't been anything that's it's come close to that really. And there's been a lot of indie platformers since then, and I've gotten close to that sense of speed, but they still don't have that responsiveness. What I really liked about Mega Man Zero was how the way that the levels were designed was basically meticulously designed so that you could go through it without stopping and losing your momentum if you were good enough. There were very few times you had to stop moving, which I think is really cool. Sometimes in a lot of platformers and stuff, it's common criticism that modern 3D Sonic games get. A lot of times you just hold forward on the analog stick or you hold right if it's a 2D platformer, and there's not really a whole lot of effort involved in going fast. Whereas in Mega Man Zero, there are enemies in the way, and you kind of have to find a way to fight them without losing your momentum, which I think is pretty cool. It kind of adds a little bit of a puzzle game element to it. If I can get an emulator hooked up, I don't know what the best Game Boy Advance emulator is. I think I still have my copy of Zero 3 somewhere. I will try to put up some footage of that. I don't think too many people have played the Mega Man Zero game simply because they were not really a popular series. They came out pretty much at the tail end of when Mega Man was still getting games regularly. I think Mega Man 01 was like 2002, and then the last one was 2005. So that was one of the last big name Game Boy Advance games as far as I know. The DS had already been out by that point, I think by a few months. A lot of people have not played them, they've been dismissed. I know that people didn't like the narrative. I honestly don't even remember the plot to those games. What I remember is the rock solid gameplay. I think I must have beat like Mega Man 03 like several dozen times when I was in high school. My senior year of high school, I played the shit out of that game. I think it goes to show that we really need more representation in the fan game community with that. I don't know how easy or hard that would be. I'm not going to pretend like I'm a programmer or a coder in any way. I just think that the Mega Man fan game community has been very it's been very one-sided. It's pretty much all just the classic series, which isn't a bad thing. Some people like just the basic platforming controls. I think Mega Man Maker is a really cool idea, and Capcom hasn't sent them a cease and desist yet. I don't really know too much about it. I have not actually played it myself. I follow a lot of speedrunners on Twitch, and a lot of them have been playing it for the past week or two, and it seems like they really like it. I would like to see that expanded to the point where it's more like Mario Maker, where they have like several different engines from other games, and you can create levels with those. It would be cool if they had like, you know, Classic, X, and Zero. You know, maybe they could go a little farther and do some of the spin-offs or something, but that would pretty much cover most of it. You would have pretty much the main, you know, advancements in the series. You know, X brought the wall climbing, the dashing, the armor pieces, and stuff like that. Charging weapons. I think all that would be really cool. You could probably make some really cool platforming challenges. I know that the problem with that is that people get obsessed with making Kaizo levels, which have never really interested me. Like, I think if they ever do expand Mega Man Maker, I don't even know if it's something that's within their, you know, capabilities. If they do expand it to incorporate the X and Zero series, I would probably just make like really cool speedrunning levels. I think it would probably be easier said than done, because I don't really have a whole lot of level editing experience under my belt, but I would like to make levels that would be fun for speedrunning, you know, levels that I could give the IDs to, you know, for speedrunners and stuff, and they could compete for times. I think that would be really awesome, and I think that the extra mechanics from the X and Zero series really make that a little more interesting than you know, the classic Mega Man, which has been analyzed down to the pixel. Like Mega Man Zero doesn't even get much love in the speedrunning community. There are a couple people who speedrun it. There's one person from Taiwan. He's really good at Mega Man games. He plays a lot of X and Zero games. But other than that, there aren't too many people that play it. I hope that they will also get preserved as well. A lot of people are experiencing dissatisfaction or disappointment with the fact that the second Legacy Collection is stuff that's mostly readily available. I think they have 7, 8, 9, and 10 in there, which the only game in that collection that you can't get easily is Mega Man 7, and I believe that's on Virtual Console as well. So they're basically selling you something that's not really too hard to get a hold of. You know, you can get a Vita for relatively cheap. They have it on there, and it's pretty much the, you know, console perfect PS1 version, because they have the emulator on there. So it's like not really much of an incentive to get that, unfortunately. I hope that they will continue to make them. My main concern is that the next Legacy Collection is not going to sell well, because, like I said, there's not really a huge demand for those games. 9 and 10 can be bought on like 3 or 4 different consoles, and they're not that old. They both came out within the last decade, so it's not like there's a huge demand for those games. You know, like the Zero games, you know, the closest that we got with that, I think they're on, some of them are on Virtual Console, and there's also the DS version, but obviously the DS version didn't really solve much. I don't think they made too many copies of that game. I hope that it'll get more representation. If you guys would like to see some Mega Man 03 gameplay, I'd probably be rusty. Most of the speedruns that I did were both untimed and on ultimate mode, which is basically when you collected everything in the game, you got to basically keep all your stuff, and you could double jump. You got to keep the boots you got from Phantom, which allowed you to have all the extra properties for your jumping and stuff. I mostly did speedruns on that. Obviously, back then the speedrunning community was like a fraction of the size that it is now. So there weren't really any rules or anything. It was mostly just something I did at school to pass the time. But that was I've been speedrunning for a while. I just don't really I don't do it as a main thing. I do speedrun on here. You know, every couple months I'll put up a couple speedruns, but it's never really been something that I'm particularly known for. It's not something I put time into a lot as well. I put a decent amount of time into my Streets of Fury EX speedruns, but a lot of those were just first take. You know, I haven't really had the patience to speedrun at a high level, and a lot of that just comes from the fact that the games that I am good at, like you know, stuff I've been talking about this video, like Mega Man games, those have been optimized down to like maybe having a couple seconds left to cut, like realistically. I haven't really felt like playing them at that level. I'm also really bad at fast weapon switching, which is what I liked about Mega Man Zero. Like the only thing you really had to switch was the chip on your sword, and you had the 2-button system, so you could charge the Buster and the Saber at the same time. That allowed you to have a lot more diversity in terms of how you fought. Anyway, I just wanted to bring some attention to this. It's something that we don't really think about. Even in the the Mega Man community, you see a lot of just constant stuff for the classic series. The other stuff doesn't get much love. I think I don't even know when that Mega Man X randomizer came out. I think Mega Man X Hard Type was within like the past 2 years, I believe. So there has been some progress in that field, but there hasn't been anything for Zero. I know there was supposed to be a Mega Man Seal game that was in the works a couple years ago, but I don't recall what's happened with that. I haven't heard anybody talking about it in a while. I think it'll be cool if that comes out, if they're actually able to get the movement engine pretty close to how it is in the actual games. 20XX, one of the problems I had with 20XX, as much as I love that game and how much I played it, was that they chose to go with the Mega Man X mobility more than the Zero mobility, which is kind of it's a bummer. You can get close to Mega Man Zero mobility, but the problem is that the enemy density and how much health they have kind of prevents you from doing that. Whereas in Mega Man Zero, a lot of the enemies were basically designed so that if you were charging and using the correct weapon, you could either jump over something or you could hit them with a combo. Like you could dash and use the Buster and then jump and then do a slash, and that would be enough to kill them. I think that was a really cool design choice. You couldn't just jump slash everything. A lot of times you had to really use most of your moveset to get around that. And I think that's something that a lot of these fan games are going to have a hard time reproducing. I hope that it'll happen. If anything happens, I'll definitely let you guys know. People would like some Mega Man 03 gameplay. I can attempt to get that set up. I'll probably hit up a ROM site or something and try to find it. I would like to play that game again, and it doesn't seem like they're going to do a legal re-release anytime soon. I do still have my copy of the game somewhere, I believe, so I'll try to get around to that. Anyway, that's it for today. I will have Hero gameplay when possible. I don't know what's going to happen. There's a high chance there's probably going to be some critical bug, or they're going to do like a emergency maintenance or something. So I'll put up gameplay when I can. I did do a bunch of prep time last night, so I should be able to kind of level it up pretty quickly. Catch you guys later. Peace.